This is a Madison County Community News Network special report with the Circle City Magazine. We speak with a parent that came forward with a community alert you need to know. Please share this with your friends and neighbors in our community. Now, here is Rick.
Warning: footage from this news report may be offensive to some viewers and not recommended for the younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
These are not just one-on-one fights. These are groups. Just go from there.
So I'll start with my situation first with my daughter. On October 1st, Tiara was at Anderson High School, and she called me about 10 o'clock that morning, and she said she was being picked with, and she was getting messages sent to her that kids were looking for her to, fight her. So I said, okay, Tiara, I said, stay in your class. I'm going to call the school, and I'm on my way to come pick you up. So I call up to Anderson High School and I speak to the secretary, and she sends Mr. House, which is the high school's dean, down to go see what was going on. So Mr. House removed Tiara out of her third period class and walks her down the hallway. Well, in the midst of them walking, my daughter seen the girls, and Mr. House has seen the girls that have been picking with her and following her around. So Mr. House, I don't know where he left her or how he left her, but he left her in the hallway. In the video that I've showed you, he's left her in this hallway. These girls have started calling her name. Tiara says that she knows that they're coming up behind her. So she turns around and she's looking. And Mr. House has also stated that he's seen the girls charging at Tiara as well. And so my issue with the whole situation was Tiara has done, the appropriate action that she needed to take by getting in touch with me so I could contact the school. My question was, when I went to the school board meeting, was who do I hold accountable for this? Because you guys are telling kids to tell adults when there's situations that are happening to tell adults. The adult was told. The adult left my daughter to defend herself. I don't know. I don't know. I want some answers behind this. My daughter was suspended.
To break up the fight or anything or at all?
He did turn around. Mr. House turned around and casually walks over to the group of girls to break up this fight. And it's my daughter with 4 or 5 other young ladies that are attacking her. And I'm in disbelief behind it, because it's like she did the appropriate things, but she's still been punished for it. She was suspended for 5 days. And then she returned back after her 5-day suspension, and they wanted her to go virtual. I said, no. I said, we're not going to do that. I said, Tiara was attacked. She is the victim. She needs to be back in school.
Did the other girls get suspended or anything?
Patrick Hill at the administration's office had told me that he couldn't go into detail about the extent of the other girls' punishments. But I do know that Tiara said when she did return back to school that Monday after her 5-day suspension, she saw those girls back in school. So they are back in school. I'm not for sure if they were suspended. So the reason I went to that school board meeting is because I was like, that's not right. You guys want her to go virtual. She needs to be back in school with the rest of the children, because, she's had her time off. Everything should have been cooled down. So they're telling me, no, we are going to have to expel her. If you don't want to do virtual, we'll expel her. So that's what triggered me to go up to the school board meeting, because I was like, no, this isn't fair. This isn't right. This happened October 1st. That school board meeting was November 9th. I talked to Kelly Durr at the administration's office immediately after the incident. And she said that she would investigate it, but I didn't talk to her anymore until that Tuesday after the school board meeting. And she had explained to me that she had been trying to call me, and I'm like, my phone hasn't rang. I've talked to Patrick. I've talked to Brad Meadows through emails. There was no communication. The only way that I've gotten this story out is by going to that school board meeting.
So they wanted you to put your daughter into virtual or expel her. They didn't give you an alternative like the D26 or anything along that lines?
That was never an option. No, they never spoke on that at all. It was either she was going to go virtual or she was going to be expelled. But once, I spoke at that school board meeting and shed some light to it, I got a phone call that Wednesday and they asked me, could I come in that Thursday to the administration's office? Me and my daughter, we go in there, we tell our sides of the stories. That Friday, Mrs. Sanders called me and she said, I've reviewed your tapes. I reviewed the high school's tape. Mr. House did walk away from your daughter. We don't want to expel her. You have agreed to go virtual. So we want her to go ahead and go virtual, which I feel like for my daughter's education, that's fine. But in the long run, what I want is for them to tell me that she can come back to school and that she's going to be safe.
Well, what is she going to end up missing? I mean, because it doesn't take but a week of living in this community to realize that when they go to virtual versus when they're in person, that it's two different classrooms.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you'd have to question, what is she going to miss?
What happened? Miss? She's been out of school since October 1st. Today was her official day of virtual, first official day back for virtual. So she's missed tons, all in the negligence of the high school. Had Mr. House prevented this, not have walked away, this wasn't a passing period when those girls started attacking my daughter. Why didn't you step in and say, hey, where are you supposed to be at? What's going on?
Was there a police report or anything done to, substantiate? Did you look into possibly getting the police involved by chance on the other girls for the assault and battery?
I did file charges against the other young ladies. I have thought about filing charges against the actual high school because, I feel like Mr. House was negligent against or with all of those girls. He was negligent. It wasn't just my daughter. It was all of them because all of them, were in this encounter. So, he was there. He was the authority. He didn't stop it. So,
yes. Was there no school security to call in or anybody to,
security? I saw him on the walk-in that video. It looked like he called somebody as he was walking back. But I feel like he should have called somebody, that Thursday they had just had that brawl with the boys where there were 6 juveniles that were sent to juvenile. So with this just happening and then me telling you guys that there's some girls trying to bully my daughter or want to fight my daughter, you would think that, there would have already been the appropriate authority right there waiting.
Some type of procedure in place to say, hey, we need to have an escort from security.
Yes. And none of that was done beforehand. All of this could have been avoided had the appropriate authority done what they were supposed to have done.
How many fights are happening in that school on average that what have you been hearing? Or
so since this has been out, I've heard daily. I know for a fact, and it's not just the high school, it's the middle school. They're doing the same exact thing at the middle school. There was, with my daughter, the day that she had her altercation, there were 2 more fights, and I was on the phone with Officer Jerry with the last fight of the day because he was calling me to give me a case number. And one of the little kids' parents had called me and said that there was a girl that was bullying her daughter. And I'm on the phone with Jerry and I'm like, Jerry, this is what this parent is telling me. I said, the little girl is telling her mom that they're trying to fight her by the vending machine. You need to get over there. He gets off the phone. The fight still goes on. I don't know what happened, but a teacher ended up getting punched in the face. So, it's awful, this is a daily occurrence. It's at the high school. It's at the middle school. It's at the buses. It's at basketball games. It's at our after school events. Like, it's out of control. It's definitely out of control.
And it will hinder the kids' education if they don't feel safe in the classroom or if they don't feel safe walking in the hallway.
Absolutely. Those kids aren't scared of the authority. They're fighting the authority at this point. I don't know who to hold accountable for everything that's going on. It's like, I do know that, it starts at home and these parents need to know exactly what's going on with these children. And that's why I was so on top of Tiara when she called me and told me Friday that she was being bothered because she had told me Thursday that those same girls were picking with her. So I already knew a little bit that there was something going on. So I knew that I needed to get up there to that high school. It's just I would have thought that high school would have been able to protect her until I got there, and they didn't. And it's like, who do you hold accountable for everything that's going on? That little girl that was jumped on Friday, not a single official staff around. A parent had to break that up. So I don't know.
Did your daughter sustain personal injury through this whole thing as well? I mean, did she have to go to the hospital or anything?
She didn't have to go to the hospital, but her hair was pulled out. It was ripped out. So it wasn't any major injuries. It was more of, when she's out and about now, she's kind of watching over her back because she doesn't know what's going to happen. She's scared. Emotionally, she's scared. But physically, it was just her hair was ripped out of her head. I want to know that all those children are safe up there, because, it's been so many parents that have reached out to me now, just telling me the stories that they have behind being in Anderson Community Schools, period. It's like, there's horror stories out here, and I feel so bad because nobody knows what to do. And it's like, who do you go to? Who do you talk to? Who do you voice your concerns to? After going to the administration's office directly after my daughter's assault, I heard from one person, and it took me to reach out to Pat. It took me to reach out to Brad. It took me to stand up at the school board meeting to even potentially get my daughter back into school. If I wouldn't have stood up at that school board meeting, I don't think that she would have been back into virtual today.
But she's missed all those assignments from October the 1st until today, correct?
Yeah, and they're expecting her to make that up, and I'm like,
that's a month's worth of homework. That's like 5 weeks worth.
Yes.
And we're only probably about what are we, about 6 weeks away from the end of the school year here, if that,
because you have your Thanksgiving break and then you have your Christmas break. So, that's a lot of work for her to have to catch up on, especially on something, she tried to prevent. She did the absolute right thing. She called me, she stayed in that classroom, and she waited for her protection. And he dropped the ball. He did not protect her. He didn't defend her, and she's being punished.
Of kids that are basically going after each other. Has anybody sat down and wonder if is there a gang unit or some sort that's going on inside the school system?
No, I myself haven't thought about that. I do know one of the staff members at the administration office asked me, was this like maybe a trend, a social media trend? And I can't find myself to believe that, this is a social media trend that people are trying to make it viral on social media. Although it is, I don't think that's the intention. I think these kids are really angry, and they're taking their frustrations out, and there's nobody to stop it.
Okay. Yeah. And we went on TikTok, and we went on some of the social media platforms to check to see if there was some type of a trend that was going on, like some type of popular thing that people are sharing and, mimicking the video. And we didn't see anything along that lines either. So nothing that really would have leaned towards that. There are other trends going on out there. There's some questionable trends going on out there, but, going around and bullying and beating up kids is not one of the trends. As a matter of fact, they're trying to do the exact opposite on some of those platforms right now.
Right.
So that's a little bit disturbing to see that we're having this issue in the school system. Yet, have they? And you can't seem to get the information for the other parents. You can't seem to get in touch with them. They're not trying to put you guys in touch. Has nobody thought about maybe setting up a meeting for you and the other parents to meet together that were involved in this situation to kind of hash it out and come to a resolution and maybe see if we can get these kids to get along a little bit better? So we could conduct, class the way it's supposed to, because it's not like they've not been through enough already.
Absolutely. And, if there was parents that were willing to step up and do those things, I think things would be a little better. I feel like all these children that are, going through these situations, it starts at home. And that's what I was telling the administration's office. The training starts at home. And for you guys to come in here and try to teach these children, some of these children are unruly. So therefore, I feel like the school needs to hold parents more accountable for their child, because at the end of the day, it's the parent's responsibility, to make sure the child is acting accordingly, following rules. And if their children are doing everything that they're supposed to be doing, then there wouldn't be this many fights.
Well, the school needs to protect the kids on their safety at all costs.
That too.
When it comes to generally speaking, most parents out there really want the best for their kids and try to work with their kids. Unfortunately, it only takes a couple of bad apples to spoil the whole bunch.
Absolutely.
And honestly, that's what I think we've seen going on. But there seems to be more and more bad apples coming to the surface. So there's an underlying element, something that needs to be looked into to find out, why is this going on? Why is this becoming a trend? Why are we starting to see an uptick of all these fights going on in the schools, and nobody seems to really be talking about it?
Right.
Well, we're going to talk about it.
We need to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it right here. And we're kind of interested to see what the school is going to do to be proactive about making sure the kids are safe. You're not going to stop every fight from happening. You're not going to stop every bit of drama. And the school's not there to get in the middle of the drama between the kids and their friends and everything else. But on the flip side of it too, they have to actually make sure they maintain safety, security, and direction, so that way their objective can actually be met. And that's to educate them, because it's not a social club, it's an education facility. So that's part of the other issue too. I've been talking to several different parents. I think one of the big deals is that we've noticed that these kids are allowed to have their phones in the classrooms to be able to go ahead and communicate with each other and everything else. And there seems to really be no grasp of, hey, stop communicating on TikTok and doing TikTok videos and Snapchats in the middle of the classroom when you're supposed to be studying. And
right.
That's been a big issue. And I understand parents want to be able to get a hold of their kids, especially with today's society. Everything's a little bit more dangerous than what it was 20 years ago. We get that. On the flip side of that too, if the school's doing its responsibility, those kids do not need to have their cell phones on their person while they're in the classroom.
Right.
It's like, the school actually has a rule that they shouldn't have them in there, but it doesn't seem like it's enforced in most of any of these classrooms, all the way down to the intermediate school.
Mm-hmm.
All the way down to the intermediate school. So we're seeing that trend with even the younger ones. And by the time they make it into Highland or the high school, it's almost after they have their phone with them, and it's just part of their accessory, of almost like a book bag. And that's where they spend their time. Well, that should be reserved for lunches and maybe in between classes or something.
Yeah.
Something along that lines. It should not be used as a communication device to be able to communicate with each other throughout the course of the day. And some teachers, we've even noticed that they'll try to incorporate it into the doctrine in the classroom. I can tell you this much right now. I'm in my mid-40s, and I can tell you we didn't have phones in the classrooms or any of that type of stuff, and we weren't allowed to do any of that type of stuff. And even we had beepers and stuff, but you didn't take it into the classroom.
Right.
That didn't go into the classroom. It was a big deal if you took that thing into the classroom, because the teacher would turn around and confiscate it, and your parents would have to come and pick it up. It'd be an inconvenience for your parents. But we've got to get back to the basics here, just some of the basics here, so we can focus on the education, a little less on the drama on Snapchat and TikTok.
Yes. Right.
The school has to guarantee, or do everything they can. I know they can't ever guarantee, but do everything that they can to make sure that these kids are staying safe. What are they doing to be proactive? So I guess that's a question for Mr. Kronk there. Joe Kronk, if you're watching this, we would like to find out, what is the school system going to do that's proactive to make sure that these children are safe in these schools, and that we can cut down on the fighting so that way they can focus on their education also? And what are you doing about making sure that that their cell phones stay in their lockers and not in the classroom, and start enforcing that? We need to find out how we're going to get these kids focused back on education. In order for us to fix this community, we have to fix our education system first.
Absolutely.
That's the base. That's where it starts. Scared for your safety, you're not going to focus on your algebra. I can tell you that much.
Right.
It's going to make it real hard for you to focus on anything except for your safety. That's it. So if they don't feel safe in there, then that becomes a problem. But I understand, like I said, kids are going to fight. They're going to do stupid things. Teenagers especially are going to do crazy things out there. It's going to happen.
Right.
But do we curb it? How do we curb it to keep it down to a minimum? Between everything that happened with COVID and bouncing back from that, trying to get back to a normal school setting, these kids are already struggling an uphill battle anyways because everything was e-learning last year. And well, let's face it, half of them didn't get anything from it.
Yes, because you send them home for those days, and it's like, what are they doing while they're at home?
Well, I tell you exactly what they're doing. They're sitting on their phones, playing on TikTok, playing on Snapchat when their parents are at work or something like that.
It's a punishment.
Exactly, because right now, as for parents, it's already tough enough to make it as it stands. So, the parents can't turn around and take the day off and turn around and make them sit with them. And if your job doesn't let you to take your kid with you to work, you're not taking your kid to work with you. So that's you're stuck in a pondering with a situation right there. Instead of putting them out of school, why didn't they put them into like in-school suspension, something along the lines where they sit in there in a classroom where they have to turn around, maybe even get away from the Chromebook and have to do old-fashioned paper assignments and write an essay for 1,000, 1,500 words or something. Give them some busy work. Make them go scrub down the floors in the cafeteria or something, so they can pay back their debt to society for doing something along that lines. That type of stuff works. It's worked in history, worked all the way through. Growing up in the 80s and the 90s and stuff, it worked for us.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell. Never miss a thing. Thanks for watching. Catch new episodes every Tuesday of The Funded Project, the weekly show where we spotlight businesses and face social issues holding our city back. By watching and sharing episodes of our show, it helps our community come together and fix issues, and it helps you find small businesses. When you support small businesses, you support your community. Please visit our sponsors and tell them thank you. Without you and without our sponsors, we would not be here. This episode was made possible by the following. When your business needs funding, but the bank says no, Metro Media Funding Solutions has a network of funding companies waiting for you. Learn more and get your business funded today at fundmybusinessnow.com. And by VideoStar's videography service, the all-new VideoStar's Holiday Video Builder is easy and fun to use. Turn your photos into a stunning video to share with everyone on social media. With VideoStars, you can knock the Christmas card sending chores off of your list in under 10 minutes. Holiday decor made by hand, made with love, and not stuck on a shipping container. Find unique one-of-a-kind gifts by shopping handmade treasures online right now. Speaking of the holidays, you can do your mall shopping from the comfort of your home. Avoid mall crowds, save money, and find something for everyone at Anderson's Virtual Mall, the Metroplex Marketplace. Download the app or visit us at metroplex.shop. Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals are underway on all 8 virtual floors. For news tips, show submission ideas, or to advertise with us, be sure to visit us at MadisonCountyNewsNetwork.com. Thank you for watching. Please share this on your social media and help us get the word around. Serving you, serving our community. Have a great day.